And we are live. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good morning, depending on where you are, what time you started watching this show. Tonight is a special night. Our guest, our friend, the lovely Mr. Skeptic Mohamed. Good evening, my friend. How are you doing?
Good evening, Wasim. Wissam, thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah.
So, okay, we have to start. Listen, I do this all the time.
But you are Wasim. You are Wasim. So.
Okay, good. Yeah, you salvaged it well. See,
Yeah.
in my line of work, I'm a consultant, and people parachute me in
Yeah.
into businesses that are not doing well, so I can help them do things well. Anyway, so first impression is they hate me. On day one, they hate me. So I break the ice with some dark comedy, dark humor.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times, people will make the same mistake and call me Wasim. And then my reply would be, with a very straight face, serious. I let it go for the first time, and then the next time, straight face. So it's not your fault. I know it's nothing personal, but in Arabic, my name, Wissam, means absolutely different thing from what you just called me. You called me Wasim. It means something else. Wasim means handsome. That's not me. I'm the other guy. And then, during this whole time, people would be thinking, shit, what did I just call him? What did I just call him? And the funniest one was in Scotland, in a project in Glasgow. And after I've done all the spiel, not the director of a £3 billion project, the second in command, he looked at me and he said, and I was thinking to myself, what did I just call him? A dog shagger or something? Shagger means pucker. So,
Yeah.
what kind of a dirty brain you have? That's the first thing that got into your. I shag dogs. That's the first thing.
Yeah. And
Anyway,
why
so
do?
that's
Yeah.
that's the comedy part out of the way.
Yeah.
This is my rant for the night. Welcome again, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
So for those viewers that don't really know you, or they just joined us from Twitter, most of my audience are my Arabic audience. They're not the normal English audience. So if you can introduce yourself, that would be really lovely.
Yes, I'm Mohamed Amara, aka Skeptic Mohamed. I am an ex-Muslim atheist from Morocco. I lived most of my life in Morocco. I grew up Muslim, like most of the Moroccan citizens, and I am currently in Northern Europe, in Sweden, after receiving a lot of love and peace from some followers of the religion of peace back home. Yeah.
Okay.
And currently, I've just started a blog, so I'm new to the blogging business, if I might say. So that's a new project that I'm working on, and there should be some new projects in the near future.
If you can
God
send me the
willing.
link to your blog, God willing,
Yes, yeah.
inshallah, if you can send me the link,
Inshallah.
then I can add it to the description, because I've added your Twitter account to the description of the video.
Yeah.
It would be good if I can add the blog as well. Do you do Facebook by any chance?
No, I was on Facebook, but then I deleted it after a while because nothing was good coming out of it. I was just receiving death threats and hate messages and whatnot, and it had my real name, so it was quite risky. And I was still back in Morocco, and yeah, it got ugly at some point. So I was like, screw this. Yeah.
So you left Facebook by your own will, not kicked out, like happened to me and most of my friends. Yeah, we got banned like 7 times.
Oh wow! Well, you must have been doing
Oh
something
no,
really
actually,
good.
I'm on my 4th account, to be honest, not 7.
The
I'm on my
fourth.
4th account. Yeah, 4th.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
free banned completely, and then I have to start all over again with a new email account and new phone number and all that. Yeah,
Wow, wow, that
yeah,
is wow.
yeah. For some reason, Facebook
Well,
is what we call Snowflake Republic.
oh,
Yeah, so they everything is offensive, everything is hate speech. Twitter slightly better, slightly, but Facebook no. If you sneeze at a Muslim, they will mute you for a week. Yeah,
yeah. I've seen some. I think there was the YouTube, the Facebook page of Atheist Republic, and it got banned. I think after mass reporting, and there were a
yes, the
lot
Arabic
of
one.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and funny enough, that happened shortly after I interviewed Pamela, who's actually
Pamela,
the
yeah,
yeah, Pamela
Pamela
alayhi
alayhi
salam.
salam, Pamela alayhi
Exactly. Yeah,
salam.
we did exactly the same thing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
uh, uh, yeah, it took just a short while after that. They closed the page, and she lost her own account, and then
Wow.
she lost her Twitter account. So it
Yeah.
must be me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, watch out
Okay,
for your
well,
accounts, mate.
well. Oh, I think there's a technical problem. Okay, goodbye.
Yeah, yeah. Goodbye. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. My Twitter account is at SkepticMohamed. I think we follow each other on Twitter.
Yes. Mm.
So that's pretty much the social media that I'm active on very often.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have a
So, so
YouTube channel, but there's no content yet. So
okay, I'll upload this clip to Google Drive and send you the link. You can upload it to your channel if you want.
no, thank you. That would be great. Good start for the channel.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No problem. So, what is your religious background? We know you're a Muslim, but which type? There's like 72 types of Muslims.
Sorry, what's that? 70?
Madhabik.
Ah, yeah, the sect. I grew up Sunni Maliki Muslim, like the
Uh-huh.
majority of Moroccans. Yeah, Sunni Maliki. I was quite religious as a kid, so I
Uh-huh.
believed in all of the good stuff in the religion. I believe that, for example, the devil pees in your ear if you don't wake up to pray the Fajr prayer, and that he sits on your chest if you sleep on your back.
Oh
I
yeah, I
believed in
never
all
got
of
that
that. Yeah,
one. Yeah, if you sleep on
yeah,
your back, yeah, it didn't make any
yeah.
sense since I was a kid.
No, no, yeah,
But
no,
you
yeah.
believed in that. You were that
Oh, as a kid, I
that
was a
level.
kid because that was
Mhm,
like what was offered. So I didn't know any better.
mhm.
That was like everyone around me was talking about that. I thought that religion was like the best thing that could happen to you, especially if you are born a Muslim. So you are given this opportunity to be saved forever. That you have to be a pious Muslim, because, as you know, being a Muslim is not enough for you to go to heaven. So you have to be pious.
Mhm.
You have to pray. You have to fast. You have to do like the adkar and do
All the stuff, yeah.
yeah,
Ramadan time,
all
you
of
have to
that.
pray all
Yeah,
night, all that, yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
being devil's advocate, I like to play this card each now and then. I'll put on my like a Muslim hat. I'll turn to a Muslim and start asking dumb questions like they do. So,
Yeah.
can I say that you found all these things too hard, and that was the reason why you said, "Yeah, no, that's too much for me. I'm a bit lazy. I'm an atheist from now on."
No, no, I don't think that any sane person does that. Because if you believe that the creator of the universe tells you to do those things, and if you don't, he's gonna burn you for eternity, I don't think that you would do make such a choice. I mean,
Absolutely
that's
right.
like,
No, you're right.
yeah, yeah. So the reasons for why I left the religions can be split into three parts. There are like the scientific inaccuracies in the Muslim scripture, the historical inaccuracies, and some of the abhorrent moral teachings of Prophet Muhammad and his life, which shows that he wasn't as perfect as he presented himself. Because, as you know, Prophet Muhammad says that he is the best human being to ever exist. And if I can just find someone who hasn't slept with a 9-year-old girl, well, that's there are a lot of people who haven't done that. I would say the majority haven't done such a thing, or killed prisoners, or married several wives, and there are like narrations of him, for example, choring on his wives, all of his wives in one night. It's an authentic hadith. I mean,
without washing only once.
only once, yeah,
Only
exactly.
once.
And too bad for you if you're the last one after he's been with the oh my gosh, he's gonna. I mean, imagine all the sweat and the sinking. I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah,
But the
and
good thing is that
I've
he had the
heard
strength of 30 men, so at least they
of
were
30 men.
satisfied.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of his miracles,
Yeah.
that he had the strength of 30 men. Yeah.
So
I mean,
the usual one of the question, I love this question from The Walking Dead, if you've heard of it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Rick Grimes asked the same question to any new person he meets for the first time, and the question is, how many people have you killed? And then he asks them, how many zombies have you killed? And then ask them why you killed people. Same level, I ask atheists that I've met for the first time is, do you know when exactly you became an atheist? Or is it a journey rather than a certain point in time? Which one is it?
I think it's a journey. It's never just once, like it happens just in one instant. Like you're very pious and hardcore Muslim, and then in a split of a second, you just become an atheist. Maybe it happened to some people, but most of the people I talked to who had like similar experiences, and for me personally, it was like since I was a little kid, I would ask like little questions about the things that didn't make sense. I always had that part of the brain that wondered about the divine wisdom of some verses in some hadiths, if I must say. But there was always that like, uh, don't ask too many questions. Because Islam teaches you to just believe. No, don't ask many questions that can lead you astray, for example. So, but for me, those questions were always happening in my head. And after growing up a little, like in my early teenage years, I think that's when people start trying to like re-examine everything in their life. And I was wondering about like why, like this huge world, and there are thousands of religions, and this one, only one, is the absolute truth from God. And then I was, okay, if it's the absolute truth, then I will find all the answers there. I will not like be shocked by finding anything that's like shakes the faith or whatever. Like the harder I studied, the better a Muslim I would become. So that was my goal. Well, my goal was to become the best Muslim possible. So after I think like several months during like my high school years, I was like around the age, I would say 16, 17, around that time. So that's when I was like becoming more mature very fast, like intellectually. I could like read the Quran and understand most of what's in it. And I could like, my Arabic was like very good at that time. And I stopped needing another person to explain it for me, or just to look what the dude with the long beard says. and tells me what this verse means. I would look up the books of the interpretations of the
So
Quran by
you started
myself.
you're reading
Yeah,
tafsir on your own. You don't need
yeah, I don't
the
need
mosque
anyone.
sheikh
Yeah,
or any. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Just
and I
a
never.
quick
Yeah,
one, because I know there will be a smart ass later on commenting. Islam does not stop you from asking questions. So, dear smart ass, ولا تسألوا عن أشياء تبد لكم تسؤكم. That
صدق الله
literally
العظيم.
means, Sadaqallah al-Azim, literally
Yeah,
means don't ask too many questions because you might not
yeah,
like the answers and it will take you to the wrong places. That's literally what it means. So,
yeah,
yeah. Sorry, continue. So you started around 16,
yeah.
17. You stopped asking clerics and you started to read for yourself.
Yes, and I never like before ask clerics. I would just ask, for example, my father about something, because my father was he was a school teacher and was like an Islamist, not like the kind of like ISIS Islamists, but like your typical
Devout Muslim.
Islam. Yeah, exactly that. So at that time, I was how do you say? I didn't need a third party to explain things for me, so I would look things for myself, look for other like sources, not the usual like old school sources from usually from the Middle Eastern region
Mhm.
that like give you basically 7th century interpretations of the text.
And by
So
that you mean Ibn Kathir, Bukhari,
yeah, exactly.
Sahih al-Bukhari,
At-Tabari,
and so
those
on.
like very, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So I was like thinking, oh, maybe these are old. I will look for new like sources.
Mhm.
But the new sources are basically just world champions in mental gymnastics because
Mhm.
their interpretations didn't make much sense to me. If they made like very little sense, they didn't make much sense in other areas. And the literal like interpretations made perfect sense because they are much closer to what the text says. I mean, وَمَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ, it's very
Yeah.
clear that sex slavery is
Self-explanatory.
allowed.
Yes.
You don't
Mhm.
need like to overcomplicate things, and the prophets did it, and there are like Islamic accounts that he did it, and yeah, and it's things like that, and for example like claims about the earth like وَجَعَلْنَا الْأَرْضَ بِسَاطًا, and we made the earth
Flat.
flat. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And the old interpretations interpret it as like the earth is flat, so
Mhm.
they didn't start interpreting it as round until after it was discovered that, or until the theory of the round earth
Mhm.
became popular in those areas, because it was like very much known to the Greeks and like older civilizations before them, but they discovered it a bit late. So the Muslim scholars started like using that interpretation, that information to say, oh, well, it means that and not that, and it means something else. So things like that in historical claims, I was like very excited to learn history and archaeology. And there are like verses like the verse on Sulaiman, King Sulaiman, that says that his kingdom was the biggest that the world has ever seen. And we know there is no archaeological
Mhm.
and historical evidence for that kingdom.
You mean the kingdom of Ya'juj and
Yeah,
Ma'juj?
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It was a tiny little piece of land in like modern day
Mhm.
Israel and Palestine and
But
Lebanon.
some say,
So
but some say NASA are actually just a big conspiracy to hide the location of Ya'juj and Ma'juj.
yeah, exactly. They hide them, and also the devil, so that he can misguide you. And when they pop out, then you will get caught in the apocalypse by those. Yeah, and even the. I mean, some explanations that I feel like how do you say? I feel sorry for myself that I believed those things at some point, I
Oh,
just
so when you
feel,
started
yeah.
reading these new modern interpretation of Quran, did you tend to start to believe them, or you found them ridiculous?
I found most of them ridiculous, but still, I had like the emotional part was still attached to the religion. It's very hard to just like say, oh, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, this whole thing is just like the rest of the
Hmm.
religions. No, you keep telling yourself, oh, I might be wrong. I am just a human, and this is God testing me, and you always you put pressure on yourself. So you always say, oh, maybe the problem is me, not the text, not
Hmm.
what this interpretation is. So I started cherry picking at some point and just like, okay, well, I don't believe in this, but I believe in that. Oh, this is doesn't make sense, so it's probably doesn't like a
Hmm.
regulation of slavery. Oh, maybe regulation of slavery came to ban it eventually, but then when you see that in reality it didn't help that much, and if there is like an all-knowing, all-powerful God, I mean,
Hmm.
why would you just not like ban it like alcohol, for example? Like
Yeah,
you could just ban it like that. I
yeah.
mean, Muhammad,
Abraham
yeah,
Lincoln did it.
yeah,
Abraham Lincoln
exactly.
risked the stability of the whole nation just to free slavery, and he's just a mortal. He wasn't controlled by God, never spoke to an angel, and all that, and he did it just like that. Why not you, the messenger of God Almighty Himself, the creator of heavens and earth? Why not do it just like that? Because you have God on your side. For, for crying out loud, if you go to battle, He'll send angels to help you in some battles. Anywho,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when you started questioning your faith, did you tell these things to your friends, your family, your father?
No, no, absolutely not. Absolutely
Hmm.
not. I've never had any like face-to-face confrontation on those things with my parents until this point.
Hmm.
And yeah, especially that my relationship with my father was always this, because we were always polar opposites. He is the Islamist, someone who has always been attracted to the liberal values, and like it always appealed to me, like the idea of human rights and people all being equal and etc.
Hmm.
And but with my friends, I had one best friend who was like a little bit like who influenced me a little bit, because he was asking those questions as well, and he
Hmm.
was doing going through the same journey as me. However, at that time, I was like in a much more like harder position than him, because he didn't have the father figure at home, for example, but I had him. I had the father figure. I was more religious than him. I was like praying doing all the five prayers and fasting, etc. And even like going to the mosque regularly. So it didn't make much sense to just stop all that right away and say, oh, hey, well,
Mm,
I think this is nonsense. I left it. I'm sorry.
mm.
It's wrong. It didn't, and I knew the precautions of leaving the religion and the penalty of leaving it. Like that was always on my mind. That
Mm.
has always been in my head, and that can like put some fear in you that
Mm.
although, for example, the state of Morocco doesn't penalize it by death,
Hmm.
there's always someone who can basically wage jihad on you, or apply the rules of God on you.
Yeah,
طبق
because that's
عليك شرع الله. Yeah.
exactly that's one of the stupid things that some dumbasses would say. Well, give me one Muslim country that will actually apply the apostasy laws, and they actually would kill the Murtad, basically. And I would say, don't be a dumbass. Mob rules. It's the mob. It's the
Yeah.
people who would want to go jihad on your ass. That's what's going to happen. If they know there is no just leader, there's no just judge that will actually sentence you to death because you left Islam. then they will take it upon themselves to do it. That's what happens.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
basically, you didn't tell the whole society, you didn't tell your family,
Yeah.
just for fear for your life. That was it.
Yeah, like fear for life, fear to like break those social relationships with your parents and with your siblings, etc. And fear from the community. You don't want to be known as, oh, that's the atheist guy. Oh, look, it's the atheist guy. I have seen what, before that, I've seen what happened to some people like me
Aha.
during that time. Yeah. The like the cases that went famous, like Qasim al-Ghazali, he was beaten in his school, and his case became international. Well, Qasim al-Ghazali comes from a town near my hometown.
Mhm.
And the time when those things happened to him was the time when I was questioning and when I was going through that journey.
Mm. So
So
the
there
memory
was,
is fresh in
yeah,
your mind. You know what happens. There is a live example just
yeah,
happened.
exactly. This is what happens to you if you do as what this guy did. However, in spite of that, when I was still like a little bit vocal in high school, and I was like people who didn't like my best friend was absolutely sure that I didn't believe in Islam,
Mhm.
and so that was like the only friend that knew about me at that point. But when I left high school, enrolled at university, then the game changed. That's when you find like-minded people. The philosophy department, half of it is atheists, and the sociology department as well. And you have on the other extreme, you have the Islamists who want to establish the caliphate.
Mm.
In the most of them are in the Islamic studies department, in the study in Sharia, the Islamic
Mm.
law, etc. And Arabic literature, some of them are even there. Arabic literature is
Of course,
split
yes.
between them. Yeah.
Because Arabic literature is tightly linked with Quran for some reason. Yeah, it's not linked to all the great poems from the ages before Islam or after Islam. No, it's linked directly to
No,
Quran.
no, yeah.
So if I would ask you,
Yeah.
which was worse, fear of retaliation from the community if they know you're an atheist, or fear that you will lose your social ties and family ties with your family? Which one is worse?
Sorry, the voice cut in the last part.
Is it worse?
Yeah.
Was it worse to you that if you come out as an atheist in Morocco, is it worse? People actually punishing you, total strangers deciding to do jihad on you, or was it that you will lose the family tie with your family, your father and mother and extended family? Which one is worse? Fear of
Yeah.
the community or losing your family?
I think losing your life is worse,
Mhm.
because if you're dead, you're not gonna have anything.
Fair enough. Yeah.
You won't exist. So, yeah. Of course, the fear for the livelihood comes
Mm.
before like the social ties,
Mhm.
because the least of my concerns at that point was losing my social ties.
Yeah.
Getting kicked out of the house, that was the least of my concerns.
Mm.
It's like similar if you grew up gay in those communities.
Mm.
It's like that, yeah, similar to that, except maybe it's harder for a gay person to not be gay. I mean, or pretend to not be gay, maybe.
Mm.
Yeah.
It is quite naive of some people to pretend that if you're an atheist, if you don't believe in the afterlife, why don't you just kill yourself? What they don't think about is because we know this is the only life we have. So this is the most precious thing we have. So it's
Yeah.
it's it's more important than anything else. It's not something that we can just ignore and waste away. It's the only, literally,
Yeah.
that's it. This
Yeah.
is it. There's nothing after it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
A friend of mine here in Sweden has he sells secular clothing. In one of his T-shirts, he writes in Swedish, "I believe in life before death."
Ah, that's
Because
nice.
religious people, yeah, because religious people believe in life after death.
Mm.
We believe in it before death. So
Exactly. No, that is
yeah,
really nice. It's very profound. Did he come up with
yeah.
it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he is like he runs the
Mm.
whole show. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
nice. It's
yeah,
really good. Please send him my compliments. It's
yeah,
a brilliant thing to say.
yeah,
If you have access to Netflix by any chance, I would highly
yeah.
recommend watching a show called Afterlife. Uh,
Afterlife by Ricky Gervais. Yeah, I
my
watched it.
man.
One of the best. Yeah,
Yeah, the new
yeah,
season in a
absolutely.
couple of months.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah, that's
he's
amazing.
brilliant. Of
Yeah,
all
he
the
is.
atheist comedians, it's him and the great George Carlin. Yeah, they
Yeah,
crack me up every time.
yeah,
From that
there.
show, I remember that famous scene when his colleague and she says, "So you're an atheist? Why don't you go out? What stops you from going out killing and raping?" And he said, "Nothing stops me. I can do it. I just don't want to."
Yeah, I rape and kill as much as I want, which is
Exactly.
zero.
Which
Yeah,
is zero. Exactly. I rape and
yeah,
kill as much as I want, which is zero. Yeah.
yeah,
It's a brilliant, brilliant quote.
yeah,
One of the best
yeah,
quotes I've ever heard. So
yeah.
now you're, and where are you, for lack of a better word, I would say spiritually. So where are you now in this journey? Because we've agreed that this journey from total belief to where we are now, it's a journey. It's not a milestone. You didn't wake up one morning and say, "Okay, I'm an atheist today." It's a journey. So
Yeah.
where are you now on this journey?
This journey has, I think, the journey to atheism has ended years ago. But I always try to learn new things and learn about how the world works and what we can, what the meaning of this life is.
Hmm.
Although I think there is no meaning, and we just give it that meaning, which I think it doesn't have to have a meaning. You're here, you exist, so make the best of it. That's like much realistic than philosophizing on, oh well, maybe there is a God who created me to do this and do that. Because if you enter into that like area of the unknown part of like that we can't test scientifically, I think you just and you'll end up inventing a religion. So
So in terms
yeah,
of the belief of the divine, to you,
yeah.
that journey is over. There is no divine. There is no deity.
There is no God. No, there is no God, and even if there is a God, then that God is not worthy of worship. So, and this is like according to the problem of evil,
Hmm.
the
So I'll
philosopher.
put
Yeah,
again. I'll put on my Muslim hat again, and I will ask you. So hold on, wait. If I give you now irrefutable evidence that there is a first cause, there is a God who started it all, and it is so irrefutable that all scientists, let's say 99% of scientists around the world, said, "Yeah, there is a God." Now you admit it. Where will you be then?
well, that God is not the God that most of the theistic religions teach you about. That's just a first cause. That would just make you a deist. You believe in a cause, something caused the universe. We don't know if
Mhm.
that cause still exists or if that cause is a personal God, if it cares about you or not, or it just kickstart everything and then let everything flow as
Mhm.
it had planned
So,
or
so
whatever.
if someone would provide you with a proof that you would think, yeah, fine enough, yeah, yeah, it's okay. Now I believe. Still, that will not make you a religious person, but that will make you a deist.
Yes, if there's irrefutable evidence, but there isn't irrefutable evidence
No, there's not.
according to science. There is not. I would say it points to the other direction. I would say it's the other way around. That's the more science advances, the more we become closer to give an almost certain answer to the existence of God, that he or it or she doesn't exist.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, actually, just a couple of days ago in our Arabic group, a guy asked, so if you ask exactly that question. So if you found an evidence that will take you towards believing in God, will you take the evidence? And I said, yeah, I'm not that stubborn. If you give me something
Yeah,
convincing, yeah, I'll take the evidence. And
yeah,
then his immediate first reply was, then how can you explain the complexity of the human body? Oh, fuck off.
yeah.
Fuck off.
I get
I thought
that,
you were an
and
intelligent person, and I answered
yeah,
you. I shouldn't have bothered answering you then.
I got that question so many times.
Oh,
I mean, I think the best way to deal with those people is to ask them whether they understand a little bit about evolution. If they tell you, "Oh, evolution says
no,
humans
but
were
it's a lie.
monkeys," then yeah,
But it's a lie. Evolution is
what's
a
a lie?
lie. It's a
Well,
lie.
if you okay, well, if you believe in the evidence or the scientific evidence of that like deity, the existence of that first cause, then you must also believe in the overwhelming evidence in the theory of evolution. I mean, it's either you believe
What
in science
evidence?
or not.
What evidence? There is no evidence. I haven't seen a dinosaur turn into a chicken. So there is no evidence. It's all a lie. There are so many gaps and missing links. You
Yeah,
lie, you lie, it's full of lies. But
yeah,
here's a very interesting comment from our YouTube viewers. If you have an evidence, then it's not going to be belief. Then
it's
that is
not faith.
actually
Yeah,
no, absolutely
yeah,
right. Yeah, it's not faith.
yeah. It's not faith. It's no longer
It's lit.
faith.
It's well, it is not a believe. Believe. Actually, if you provide evidence, I will believe with a V. If I
Yeah,
have a belief with an F, then I don't need an evidence. It's just I will believe whatever you tell me without an evidence. That's what is a belief with an F. Believe with a
yeah,
V, I will need an evidence for it. So absolutely right. If God or whatever deity it is will show themselves, then I will believe with a V they exist. To believe in them without the evidence, that is a belief with an F.
yeah,
It is an actually good point. Yes. Uh,
yeah.
what was their name? Pascal Lecarnu. Thank you very much. That was a very good point. So let's jump to. So you feared retaliation from your community at the time.
That was at the time in high school. That was back in high school, a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
That was quite a
So
few years back.
you made the journey at some point, and you left that whole community and moved to Scandinavia.
Way before that, there was like a lot of things. I went to
Oh, do
university, and
tell.
then yeah. There's quite a long story. I didn't end up here just like that. I am a very stubborn. I see a burning on fire, and I would be that last person leaving that burning building. I would be, oh, maybe this room is nice. There's not much fire here, so I'll stay here a little until the
Well,
whole burning. Yeah.
hope what keeps us
So
going.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So I at that time, although with that fear, I still had like some hope, especially when I went to university and saw like-minded people. And there was a founder of the ex-Muslims, the Council of Ex-Muslims in Morocco, which was like the first Council of Ex-Muslims in all of the Muslim world.
Mm-hmm.
Ahmed Din Habib at that time.
Ah,
So
I've heard
yeah,
of
at
that
that
name.
time, yeah, Ahmed Din Habib. Anyways, he later on he ended up in England, and he was sentenced to 7 years in prison in absentia. Luckily for him, he left before the sentence took place. But anyways, at that time, so I had like that hope, and I had this revolutionary mentality, and there was the Arab Spring, so I was like thinking, oh, things are gonna change in my lifetime, so I'm gonna see some change, and I want to take part in that change, and so I was like hopeful when I was at university that things will change. But then there were like the other guys who I would say the majority, because on campus you have like the atheists who mostly happen to be communists as well, which I didn't get along with that well as well, but I get along with them in
which is
like
really interesting. The normal stereotype of communists are atheists, but in Iraq, for example, because that's where I'm originally from, nowadays all communists are Muslim Shiites. They're all Shia.
Yeah, the communists that were at the university, most of them, the majority of them, were Muslims. Some of them were very religious. I was like, how? Some of them call themselves Marxist-Leninists, and I'm like, if you're a Marxist-Leninist, how the hell do you do it? Like, I mean,
Yeah, it's
how?
I'm not saying if you're a communist you have to be an atheist. It's just the
Yeah,
stereotype is everybody
yeah,
knows it. It's the stereotype.
yeah.
They are going really against the stereotype here.
Yeah, exactly. Like the vast majority of them are good Muslims in terms of practice and in terms of beliefs. Like I have seen Muslim communists trying to basically tell the sisters and the comrades who were acting irreligiously to act in a way that is religious.
Oh,
So
nice, so
yeah,
nice.
I mean, yeah, basically like Islamists doing the job of the
So this is
Islamists.
a good, perfect segue. Pascal just asked a question, which is he sounds like they took it right from my mouth because at this time, probably social media was a good tool that for people to go out and start talking about what they know, what they feel, what they believe. So I suspect that is the time when you started during these times where you were open to new ideas, meeting new people. Is that the time when you started using social media to express your ideas?
I started using social media, mainly Facebook, before that in high school.
Uh-huh.
And yeah,
And
in high
but
school.
did you express your beliefs on
Yeah,
social media?
sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. Not as often as when I went to university. That's
Uh-huh.
when I became quite vocal on my social media, and
And what was the
at some point,
reaction, if
yeah,
I might say?
not so good.
Not
Not
so
so good.
good.
A lot of, to say the least, there were some death threats. Some and the typical "I pray you die," "I pray you get cancer and die slowly," and all that. And oh, you're a traitor. Oh, you work with the Mossad. I've heard some really absurd things, and not just on social media, like even face to face.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were some who told me if it wasn't illegal to kill,
Mm-hmm.
I would have killed you. Like if I didn't know that, if I was sure that the police wouldn't catch me, I would have
Mm-hmm.
slit your throat. Like that's
So
quite,
the only
yeah,
reason why that person didn't kill you was not the fear of God, because that God said, "Don't kill your brother," and
yeah,
even if because you're an apostate, so you should be killed. Still, God said
yeah,
a judge should sentence you,
yeah,
not that person. Still, they ignored God, they ignored all these things, and
yeah,
they said the only reason why they won't kill you is because it's illegal. The secular government made it
yeah.
illegal for them to kill you,
And it's not secular in Morocco.
and it's
Morocco
not
is not
secular. Yeah,
secular. No,
of
no.
course. Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
from the point of view of the Islamists around,
yeah,
it is secular because it's
yeah.
not
Because
following
there
the
are,
strict
yeah,
rules of Islam.
because it's not 100% following Islamic law, because there are some laws that come from French and Spanish civil laws, which are the rules of the infidels. So the government is not an Islamic government because it's not applying the rules of God 100%.
Perfect. So to answer our friend Pascal, he said I was just called bigot because I said on Twitter Muslim countries were violent ones. I would like to know what Mohammed thinks about that. So if you are an atheist, then people might be physically violent against you, but at the same time, let's think about it this way. When you say what Pascal said, he said Muslim countries as a whole, generalization, they are violent countries. So me being a British person, I would like to go to Morocco one day as a tourist. And actually, last summer I was planning to do that, but then plans have changed last minute. So if someone would say all Muslim countries are violent, I wouldn't go there. What do you think?
I think not all Muslim countries are the same, but the violence levels vary. And I think relatively if you're a tourist, for example, so the context changes on who you are and what are you gonna do. I mean, are you gonna move to Morocco permanently, for example, or you're just gonna go and visit a city as a tourist? Are you a homosexual? Are you a woman? Are you a Jew? I mean, what are you?
God forbid, no.
Yeah, I mean, for example, the Moroccan Jewry. I think it was one of the largest Jewish communities in the Islamic world, and it went down from 300,000 in the 40s and 50s, and now it's less than 5,000. And most of those Moroccan Jews don't live permanently in Morocco. They go back and forth, and they live in big cities. So to say that they are violent, that they have higher levels of violence. I mean, some Muslim apologists would say, "Oh well, Brazil is not a Muslim country, and it has a high level of violence as well." But if you refer to, yeah, they could like do that, but to say like violence that is highly linked to religion, to Islam, I mean, obviously there is like a clear link that the sectarian wars that are happening in some countries like in Syria and even in Iraq recently. Yeah, I mean that country has been like torn apart by sectarian violence, and Syria now is like part of the problem is that sectarian war. Bashar al-Assad is a Shia, and those are the Sunni and the Syrian Christians and whatnot.
But again, the apologists would say that's not because of Islam, that's because of Shia. Shia are not Muslim.
Well, if you do that, you're part of the problem. If you tell them they're not Muslim, they're going to tell you you're not a Muslim. This is what we are talking about, sectarian violence. There you go. That's my point.
The irony is so clear there when they say, no, it's not about Islam, it's only because of Shiites. For fuck's sake, listen to yourself.
Yeah. And the Ahmadiyya would tell you all these people are wrong. The Ahmadiyya are the right ones. They have the right version of Islam. And all those sects, the mainstream sects, the Shia and the Sunnah will just say, oh, Ahmadiyya are kuffar. They are infidels. Well, that's what we are talking about.
My most entertaining time is when someone posts something into one of our Arabic groups and it's criticizing something that the Shia says or the Sunnis, something very specific. Just the Shiites would say that, or just the Sunnis would say that. And then this is when I get the popcorn and start reading the comments. Shiites against Sunnis, Sunnis against Shiites in an atheist group. For fuck's sake. Stop! Yeah, don't put your laundry out like that in front of me.
Yeah, you might as well just start an online fight on who's the best superhero, whether Spider-Man or Batman.
Exactly. And the only reason why would they stop arguing and fighting each other is me putting a GIF of Michael Jackson eating popcorn. That's the only thing I need to do with my name, and they know who I am. I'm eating popcorn, watching you all guys, and that's when they realize, oh shit, we're making fools of ourselves in an atheist Facebook group. Yeah, and that's when they
Yeah.
stop immediately.
Wow. Wow.
So let's move on from physical violence to cyber violence. So
Yeah.
you've got many death threats in your time in Facebook back in the time when you were in Morocco. So now you're on
Yeah.
Twitter. You're pretty famous on Twitter. People know you.
Well,
Yeah,
a few people. I mean,
few people know you. So what
yeah.
kind of cyberbullying do you get? I bet it's not as bad as our friend Faye. Uh,
Yeah.
she, she gets pretty bad bullying. I
Yeah.
explained
Yeah.
that
I
to
know
her.
the. Yeah.
You know Faye. You know who I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been following her for a while now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
I
seen
explained that to
her.
her. I think last week or the week before we had an episode together, and I explained that to her. Those people who actually just are obsessed with her, they just like her.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Probably.
just like that.
It's.
Like when we were in primary school and we were kids, the boys, when they like a girl, they would pull her hair, and that's their version of pulling her hair.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
cyberbullying.
Or speak ill of her, or
Yeah, and
do something like that. Yeah.
and they become obsessed of her period for some reason. I don't know why they tweet so much about her period and she's been on period and something like
Oh.
that. Yeah, I think that's a big sign of that person really likes Faye.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
having said that, now let's
Yeah.
talk. Let's get
Yeah.
seriously now. What type of
Yeah.
cyberbullying do you get? Cyber harassment.
It's relative. I'm disappointed in Twitter because it's much less than the bullying on Facebook. I think it has to do with the algorithms, maybe because most of my tweets now are directed to an irreligious audience. But before Facebook, I had like friends and like people I knew from university and like people in real life, so it was like local, maybe bully, like most of what I wrote was like directed at those people. But Twitter is not that like friendly either. I have like at least 2 to 3 like replies or messages a day, like threatening to like beat me up, or like wishing
Mm,
me death or something like that.
mm.
Or yeah, or I had like this guy tweeting, oh, no wonder why your lives are in constant danger. I would love to give you to meet you in person and give you some love. He was giving some euphemism to beating. Yeah. So,
Just like
and
that. Yeah, that's
yeah,
so
just like
lovely.
that. Yeah. Yeah. So
Religion
he.
of peace, my friend. Religion of peace. They
Yeah,
just like to
exactly. And
they
I
spew
mean,
out
this
peace.
is yeah. I mean, this is like nothing compared to what could happen to you in real life. Like the main reason what like pushed me to leave the country permanently is I was because like after I finished university, I had like some trouble with the Islamists there, and it got like violent at some point, and it got ugly. So at some point, I was thinking, oh, this is not working. Like I need to move out of my hometown. So the first, I would say, movement I made was to leave my hometown and go to the biggest city in Morocco, which was Casablanca. I thought, oh, well, there it's a big city. It should be more open, etc. And I worked there for a few years in commercial law. And one time, like after work, I had like a discussion with one of like not a colleague, but someone who works in the same building as me. So we had a little discussion in a cafe,
Mm.
and it got like heated up a little. He's a progressive Muslim. He's not like your typical
Oh,
Allahu
okay.
Akbar, I want to beat you up. So he's like he's a lot into mental gymnastics and like reading
Mm.
up those very tortured explanations. I've been there, so I don't judge that, but we had like a
Mm.
little debate there, and I probably said like something about Prophet Muhammad, and you do not do that in a public
Yeah, yeah,
space.
that's a
You
no-no.
do not. No, and I did that. Yeah, because at that time I was like, after finishing university, my revolutionary like drive cooled off. I was like, okay, this is not going anywhere. I need to focus on something else. So I moved to another city, started a career, and focused on that instead. But there's always that time when you have to talk to people and you have to like say what's on your mind sometimes. And sometimes the character of the friendly religious you just goes away, because there's no friendly way to say that what Muhammad did to Aisha is not child
Mm.
molestation. There's no way to put it nicely.
Mm.
So yeah, so after that I was chased by one of the fighters of Allah
Mm.
with a knife, and luckily for me I survived that.
No,
So yeah,
literally with a knife.
yeah. Well, not like a little kitchen knife. I mean, it's like basically jihad knife. It's
Wow.
I mean, yeah, I'm still like because of that I still have a trauma. So it's still like messing with my head like
Mm.
sometimes, and yeah. So that was like, that's it. At that point I realized, oh, this is not something I'm reading about. This secular blogger is being attacked. I am not like a famous person. This is just me talking to someone after
Mm.
work, and this is what happened. And long story short, the authorities didn't do anything. It developed from that. So at that point I was like, oh, I have.
So you
That's
did
it.
complain to the
Yeah.
authorities at the time, and they did fuck all.
No, they didn't do anything. They said, "Oh well." I didn't. Of course, I didn't say like, "Oh, I said like, for example, Prophet Muhammad is a child molester," because that would like put you in trouble with the Moroccan
Mm.
legal system. Because criticizing Islam is a legal offense
Of
in
course, yes.
Morocco. Yeah, so that would be stupid. So I didn't do that. I just said, "Oh, I was like chased with a knife here and here, and at this time, and blah blah blah." And they were like,
Mm.
"Oh well, if there's no blood, just don't bother us again." And they were, one of them was like even laughing. And after I turned away, I heard him saying, "Oh, this is one of those spoiled little brats." Well, I'm not a
Mm.
spoiled little brat. I grew up in a, like low mid class family, and I have like been in a small town, etc. So, but to hear that level of unprofessionalism and no like intention of them to protect you, and there is like a huge distrust from most
Mm.
Moroccans in the authorities, because like I've been in trouble with them back when I was at the university, because I was also like saying some stuff about the king, etc., which is also
Ooh,
illegal. Yeah,
that's a
yeah. I
no-no. You
was
can't do. You
no,
don't
no,
go
no.
there.
You don't do that. No, I have been there so many times, way much
You
more.
you
Yeah.
might get away with saying things about Muhammad, but you won't get away with saying things about the king.
No,
Mm.
absolutely not. Yeah, you could just say I was wrong, I was misguided by the devil when you stand in the
Mm-hmm.
court. I mean, they're not gonna buy that usually, because like the judges. I mean, they usually like they have studied Sharia, so and
Mm.
Morocco is like 99% Muslim, so the judge will happen to be a Muslim definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna be biased against you if
Mm-hmm.
your case is presented. But to say something about the king, that's definitely like gonna get you in. I would say similar or more trouble,
Yeah,
because yeah,
my understanding of in Morocco, the king is as close as it can be to being a god.
yeah,
So yeah, so
yeah.
if
Amir
you talk,
al-Mu'minin.
He is exactly.
commander
He's
of the
Amir al-Mu'minin.
faithful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you
yeah,
talk badly about being an atheist, then you set up for 3 days. But if you talk badly about the king, that's it. You will go away, and no judge will see you.
yeah. Exactly. You will disappear.
Mhm.
Yeah, you will,
Mhm.
and legally they will have like there are like in the Moroccan legal code you have like sentences for like, insulting the king and royal family and the royal symbols and all that.
So
Yeah,
it's actually in the
yeah.
law.
And the law, written in the law, whoever
Wow.
violates the persona of the king, it's very like it's written in front of you. You don't have to go anywhere. Just read the law. It's right in there. Don't criticize the king or insult him. There have been like many students who went to jail for that, who like insulted the king, and
In
some cases, yeah,
in
it's
Britain,
quite a mess. Yeah,
on the BBC, the actual
yeah,
national television channel, television company, we have comedians mock the Queen all the time in the most horrific ways. Sometimes I feel sorry for the Queen for the ways they mock her. I love comedy and they crack me up,
yeah,
but even sometimes it's so hard. I feel sorry for the royal family. That's how
yeah,
much people make fun of them all the time.
yeah.
And nothing happens to the royal family. They are still the royal family, and
Yeah.
nothing changes. So yeah, mocking isn't a big deal.
Yeah,
But
but
hey, yeah.
the royalty of Britain is just a ceremonial royalty. I mean, back in Morocco, he is he's the head of everything, the head
Oh
of the
yeah,
army, the judiciary. I mean, the executive power. I mean, you name it. He
absolutely. No, you're right.
owns like more. Yeah, yeah.
No, that
He's the
is
big
actually
boss.
that. Yeah, you're right. In Britain, the royal family it's a ceremonial law. Ceremonial. I had too much wine. It's a
Roll,
ceremonial
roll.
role. The royalty in any Arab country, they actually rule everything. If there is a
Yeah,
role that is a prime minister, that would be their ceremonial role. The prime
yeah,
minister will not rule the country because the king or queen will do that. Well, we don't have queens
yeah.
in the Arab. It's always a king.
No, it's always a king because if you have
Uh,
a vagina, yeah, you're less competent than a
yeah, you'll
man
have
in yeah,
half
from an Islamic
from
perspective,
an Islamic
half
perspective. Yeah, vagina means
yeah,
half the mind power.
yeah, exactly, yeah, and it's been proven by some scientific studies by some Iraqi scholars
Yeah,
who
and
happen to also be yeah
that
Islamic
that
scholars, yeah,
that I forgot their names at the same time. Yeah,
yeah.
some scientists actually proved it, but I forgot the name of the scientist, and because they have this gland
Yeah.
somewhere, make them forget. I forgot the name of the gland as well.
He is a German scientist. He's
Yeah,
German, but he doesn't know what his name is. Yeah.
no, I don't remember the name of the
Yeah.
scientist or the gland or whatever enzyme the gland.
No,
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 I have no
no.
idea, but it
Absolutely
was
not.
proven.
No.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. 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 Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And oh God, it's an hour passed by so quickly. It was so
Oh
lovely
wow.
talking to you, my friend. I
Wow.
think we can continue doing this for another 6 hours, but unfortunately, I have a wife and
Yeah.
kids.
Oh. Don't have that yet. Not yet. Not
Yeah,
yet.
don't rush it. Don't. It's not
Okay.
that fun. It's not that fun.
Yeah.
One time, I called my friend. That must be like, what was it? Maybe 15 years ago. Anyway, I called a friend. I said, I'm in your neighborhood. At the time, I was married. I'm in the neighborhood. Do you want to catch up? And he said, well, yeah, no, not tonight. I'm doing the proposal thingy tonight. You know how it is in the Arab world. Your whole family will go to the Arab family. I
Oh, yeah.
was surprised. I didn't know, and I thought, oh shit, bastard, you never told me. Is it tonight? And he said, yeah, I didn't want to say. I hope. I don't know. Do you think I'm doing the right thing? And I said, absolutely right. Why should I suffer alone? You should get married as well, and then we suffer together.
Yeah, that's a fair deal. That's a fair deal right
Exactly.
there.
Listen, my friend.
Yeah.
So, are
Yeah.
you planning? Do you want to have anything to plug? Do you have any new plans? Are you planning to do something similar like this, live shows on your channel?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I haven't had that in mind until like what happened, what pushed me, like what woke me up from my sleep, from my hope that things would change and that like there is hope for Islam to be reformed or whatever. Because even I was irreligious, I had like a little bit of I was like thinking, oh, maybe like Christianity, it could be reformed. But no, it's hopeless for Islam. The best Muslims are ex-Muslims, I think. The people that leave the faith. The more, the better. The more, the better.
Listen,
It's
I
good
have
for yeah.
on our page we post quotes from famous people with a picture of them. I think I found our new quote. I will put your
Yeah.
picture and say the best Muslims are ex-Muslims.
However, I am not taking credit for this quote because I think I heard
Oh,
it somewhere. Yeah, I nicked it from
ah,
somewhere. So I think the person who said something like that is Mohammed Sayyid, the co-founder of ex-Muslims of North America. I think that was the
ah,
person who said that. Yeah.
okay,
So yeah,
okay, that's
or he
okay.
said
That
something along those lines. Yeah.
for years I
Yeah.
used to say common sense is not that common, and I thought I came
Yeah.
up with that until I realized I think Voltaire
Yeah.
said it,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah. I think. Yeah.
I
I
must
think
have
I.
heard it
Yeah.
20 years ago and it stuck.
Yeah. Exactly. I think sometimes I came up with something, but then I just read it somewhere. Oh, that's where it came from, or maybe someone found it before me. So I don't want to plagiarize anyone's work. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time, my friend. It was
Thank
a
you for
pleasure.
your time and for inviting me. Thank you so
Oh,
much. It was great talking to you and having
it
be with
was
you.
my pleasure. And judging from the comments, our audience loved you as well. And I hope in the future we can do something similar to discuss about, we discuss specific subjects, possibly, because usually what I do, the Arabic version of this show is a panel show. So there will be two, three, four of us, and I will just lead the
Yes.
discussion, very specific subject, and it's basically a panel show. Every person will say what they want, and I will lead the discussion. So we might do
I,
something similar in
yeah, I
English.
think I have watched some of those on your channel. Yeah, I think
I
some
hope
watched some
I hope
episodes.
that
Yeah,
the accent wasn't that bad because we are from the East. You're Moroccan. The accents are
yeah.
different in Arabic.
Oh, yeah, definitely a lot difference. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
but
I'm from the
yeah,
far East. You're the far West.
that worse. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a bit challenging. Yeah, it's a
It
bit
is,
challenging,
yeah.
but
I try to use classic Arabic each now and then, but
yeah,
because one of my guests is also Iraqi, so we just let
mhm.
go and start using Iraqi accent and just ignore
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. It's their
Anyway,
fault. They're not Iraqi. It's my fault.
exactly. Yeah,
I'm
it's the
not
audience
Iraqi.
fault.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you again, my good friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I thank the audience for all the comments, all the participation, all the shares. So far, we've been shared, oh gosh, so many times. Thanks to everybody. I hope you have a good night, and we will see you again in the next episode, possibly next Sunday. Have a good night.